Mass media platforms are constantly changing the way society views a certain issue, individual, or group through the controversies and public debates they exploit. Video games and the culture they create are no exception to this, as many moral panics are created by the mass media, which are rarely backed up by reliable and relevant research. Erich and Nachman state moral panic is characterized by the feeling held by a substantial number of members of a given society, that evildoers pose a threat to the society and to the moral order because of their behavior, and that something should be done about their behavior. Throughout this discussion, video games and their associated moral panics will be analysed to demonstrate how the mass media has displayed video game culture as one of negative attributes. However, it is important to note that this form of entertainment is not totally unproblematic, as many video games do promote negative behaviours which may or may not have an actual effect on the consumer. Violence and aggressive behaviour are widely thought to be a side effect of video game content due to the success of many intense, brutal games, such as Grand Theft Auto, which in its fifth installment was named the fastest selling entertainment product of all time. This public concern is typically created through isolated incidents. Richard Gillett published an article in The Australian about a 14-year-old boy who murdered Pedro Capitaman in her home through brutal stabbing and rock bludgeoning. The apparent cause: video games. New South Wales Police Commissioner Andrew Scapone also expresses his concern in the article as he states, video gamers are a pernicious influence that reward impressionable youths for killing people, raping women, and stealing money. This article is a classic example of what Glenn Sparks notes as the magic bullet model. This notion states the communication of messages in a mass medium can be compared to shooting a gun that contains a magic bullet which will consequently exert powerful, uniform effects on everyone who processes it. The model shows that mass media can be blamed for an individual's behaviour as people see and then do. It is important to note, however, that this model does not consider how humans can actually think for themselves and have other emotions and problems within this everyday lives that can cause this type of violence. In fact, psychologist and researcher Christopher Ferguson published that many research regarding the negative effects of playing video games has many methodological flaws. Therefore, the impression that video games can be a sole cause of violence is most definitely a myth, as research regarding the topic is irrational and inconclusive. An additional myth surrounding video games is that players are male within the millennial generation and therefore can be easily swayed by the content in which they view. However, according to the 2016 Digital Australia report, the average age of players in 2015 were 34 years, and 39% of people aged 65 and over actually play video games, therefore contradicting the age myth. This does raise questions as to why moral panic involving video games is so high, due to the number of adults who enjoy this form of entertainment and can be assumed to not need protection as they may be more responsible than the average teenage player. Furthermore, the 2016 study also shows that 47% of players are actually female, challenging another video game illusion that the hobby is male-dominated. Therefore, real statistics from a credible source have displayed truths about video games in relation to age and gender. Video games are often thought to make players antisocial, disconnected with reality, and both mentally and physically unhealthy. Telegraph News reporter Athleen Matthews states that children who play video games risk stunted brain growth and will consequently experience a lack of social skills. However, it is relevant to note that the term social can be defined in many ways, and that 21st century interaction within a virtual environment can have the same positive effects as face-to-face interaction. Within the book Reality is Broken, Jane McGonigal confirms that games build stronger social bonds and lead to more active social works than reality, due to the pro-social emotions playing the game creates. This can lead to greater long-term happiness and a healthier mental state, as these pro-social emotions involve love, compassion, and admiration. Thus, this fabrication that gamers are antisocial and mentally unhealthy is proven incorrect. It is evident within this discussion that many notions regarding video games and its influence on individuals are false. Hence, it is clear that if you are not a player of video games, these myths can be easily deceiving through the views that mass media portrays about video gamers.